This is a response video to how billionaires are taking over this mountain range from the hustle. There's information in the way they tell this story that they're just simply missing. And stick with me, I'll pull back the curtain and show you that the frustration that they're dealing with isn't how the federal government dealt with this, but it's actually their frustration is with the consistency of how the federal government deals with these types of situations. So stick with me. Let's go over what they talk about.
There's a formula for understanding why we do what we do, and once you get it, you get it.
Okay, here's what you need to pay attention to. You have a similar amount of acres being traded here, but it's important to note that the federal government is benefiting in a greater degree over here.
6,100 acres of private land here would become public, whereas 3,800 acres of public land over here would become private.
So they're increasing their land holdings. Now this was lower, better trail access. So you had better access before, but is that the federal government's goal? Using that as background, let's look at a Senate hearing from the BLM and Senator Mike Lee in discussing the way the BLM manages the public lands. And what you'll see is that the BLM and the federal government actively closes areas for wide public use by closing roads. And that's what you're seeing in this story.
The Conservation and Landscape Health Rule that you recently finalized elevates non-use, either on par with or arguably above multiple use. What provision of FLIPMA allows you to do that?
Okay, so the senator challenges. Now, pay very close attention to her response. She does not argue that they prioritize closing access. Just pay attention.
Title 1, Section 103 is where the multiple use definition occurs in FLIPMA, and it is very explicitly clear that managing for fish and wildlife habitat, managing for natural and scenic values, those are direct words from FLIPMA, is our responsibility. And
recall the first thing I showed you was the response from the Forest Service about the limited public benefit was the reason why they were rejecting the initial land exchange. So with the land exchange, we've shown that they went through with the land exchange when there was a added acreage. The other thing that they did is they diminished the quality of the access. Now they did provide a 40-mile public loop, okay? The 40-mile public loop, though, the problem is it's a lot more difficult. So the quality of the access was diminished. They kept access, but the quality is diminished. Once again, this is consistent with what we're dealing with in Utah, where they close roads that are used for vehicles, handicapped people can access, and you can camp, and all these things that you could do, but you can't do anymore unless you're a backpacker. So you can still do it, but it's now for a limited portion. So this video talks about how there's lots of switchbacks and how this trail is basically fit for a goat. Okay, that is consistent with the way that I see the federal government managing our public lands. So there's the thing that you're missing. Now, why is this important to me? I deal with frustrations with my interactions with the public lands and with the BLM. I have a video explaining my story. There's a lot of nuance to these types of issues. I do believe that we can find solutions, but I also think it's important to understand people's motivations. And I find the federal government's motivation in prioritizing, like turning things into museum pieces to where we can't really use it effectively, very frustrating. I think that we should see the ability for us to increase our use, not decrease our use. That's my opinion. That's my situation that I'm in. So check out my story, and thanks for watching.